every time I do a podcast, I always say, I'm so excited about my guest. And it's true because everybody has special medicine. But my next guest, Mitten Lowe, does have really special medicine. I personally see you as a medicine woman. She has, what can I say? Mitten is, to me at least, you are a medicine woman, a healer, an intuitive, and tell me if I'm wrong, and I want you to add. And what I've seen by taking your class, your medicine woman path course, that you teach women not only about plants, but how to use them in their body, and then also how to nourish their bodies, how to listen to their inner voice, how to listen to their own wisdom. So to me, you're a beautiful blend of a medicine woman and intuitive, because isn't that what a medicine woman is, right? It's not just about the plants and it's not just about the body, but it's like the body, mind, soul, and the earth all mixed in one. And today I would love to talk about something that I think you and I are both passionate about, which is the queen.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that. But I want you to just tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Yes. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And yes, I do think the medicine woman is someone that brings wellness in so many versions. So it could be the type of work that I do, which is with plants as medicine or food as medicine, and working with women on overflow and abundance. But there are so many ways to bring the medicine woman work to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And the undercurrent or the interconnectedness, which I think we're going to really touch on, is what does that look like in an embodied woman?
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody that is really full of something to offer, healing to offer,
Mm-hmm.
wellness to offer, wisdom to offer.
Yeah.
And that's where you and I have really connected on this perspective of like being a well-nourished woman.
Mm-hmm.
And then the opportunity to bring that to the world,
Right.
which could be through the lens that I offer in my work, or through the lens of so many of the women that I work with and teach, which is just bringing your bright light, your fullness, your overflow, your abundance, your queenly self to the world without it being at your expense.
I love what you just said. I loved everything you said, but I think that's a huge thing about stepping into your wise woman, your wisdom, your queen, is without it being at the expense of yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I think that we often, as women, as mothers, often we say yes when we mean no. We live in survival. We live in patterns of survival.
Yeah.
And we often don't even know how to listen to that part of ourselves that says we have to slow down here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. How to say yes when we mean yes, and not to burn ourselves out.
Yeah. And I think this is an unlearning for most of us in this culture. I know for me, and I even come from like a very nourished household, which we've talked about a lot.
Yeah.
I have a wonderful father who taught me food as medicine, and a grandmother that taught me food as medicine. And I was certainly trained to be a high performer, and to go really hard. And I received so much positive feedback for that. And I had to really unlearn that, which became a big part of my journey of offering, like how to really bring that, which these things that are my greatest gifts, which I consider like really being connected to the earth and the plants and delicious food and broths, how to bring those from fullness, which means that when there's something that will overextend me, if I have the opportunity to say no, to say no.
Right.
And sometimes we don't have the opportunity. I like to always tell people, like, there are so many times where it is actually great to go into a stress response, and those are emergencies, right? Like, thank you, nervous system, for like being able to like have a big cortisol and adrenaline rush when something's really wrong. And what does it mean to not live in that state and to live in like a calm, rest, digest, heal, receive, what I consider our priestess or our queenly overflowing state most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
because then we actually get to offer our gifts and it's a felt sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like people know there's an experience when you're offering something from fullness
Right.
and overflow and generosity, and there's like a well that we can continue to draw on, versus burnout or breakdown or deficiency. Right? There's so many like different words that we could use for that. And we've all felt that as women, definitely in this world, if we're professionals, if we're mothers, if we're caregivers, you know, like how do we really give of ourselves and not be burnt out?
I also think, to add to that, a lot of us, even though we're, living in this day and age versus maybe how our parents lived, our grandparents or great grandparents, I think a lot of women still have an issue with, number one, saying no.
Yeah.
And number two, apologizing for saying no. And I think that comes with this issue of boundaries.
Yeah.
Right. I think when I think of the wise woman, I think of a woman who really says how she feels, even though she may not have been taught that, and then owns it and doesn't backtrack.
Yeah.
And I think boundaries are really essential when it comes to being this powerful woman. I remember when I think you were leading something and I was a part of it, and we were talking about abundance. And we closed our eyes. I'm thinking about this now because it was really powerful for me. And we closed our eyes and you had us think about, what does it feel like a woman in abundance?
Yeah.
And for me, it was like a woman sitting in front of this huge window, and everyone was coming to me, and I wasn't constantly reaching out to everybody else.
Yeah.
But it was like, no.
Yeah.
That my whole nervous system was like, no.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
So what's your take on these tricky ways? Because not everybody has practice or knows how to say no when you're a good girl.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Right. I know. I was really a very good girl.
I was a good girl.
Yeah.
Sometimes I still am.
Yeah. I am in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I think updated definition.
Yes.
So there's two things I'm thinking of. And one, I want to really speak to the boundaries, but I'm remembering the moment and when we were doing Women in Abundance, like to really embody abundance. And we were talking about the energetics of the priestess, where she has so much to offer as a healer, in her full abundance, in her divinity. And as she is helping others, she is being approached with nourishment and deliciousness, and somebody's massaging her feet and putting oil on her, and there's this beautiful flow of reciprocity. And that is really the old way of being, right? When we had that flow of like abundance, and even, I don't love the word power, but like power in the hands of women, right? Women really, really helping.
Yeah.
Those that were helping on that high level were being just filled up and filled up, because we knew that that's what was required.
Right.
So I'm also remembering that moment.
Yeah.
And the boundaries thing is, it's so tricky because we have a connotation of boundaries like I have to stand guard at my fence, versus this like incredibly beautiful fence that's just naturally surrounding my space. And I don't have to be on guard. I don't have to be in an activated nervous system state.
Right.
So sometimes when we think about boundaries, it can feel like we're being harsh, or other people might perceive us as harsh. And ultimately, we want to lean into a boundary that feels so loving to self and others, which is like, hey, this isn't going to be good for us.
Right.
Right. If we're thinking of overflow and the perspective of like, it should be good for me and it should be good for you, and always being in that lens, then the boundary just says like, oh, pause. This is not of service.
Right.
And I like to think of, and you've heard me say this in Medicine Woman, being open-hearted with boundaries. So when we get into closed-hearted or like a harsh feeling or a very sympathetic fight feeling, we're not open-hearted, and the boundaries can feel challenging. And then when we're open-hearted with boundaries, often if people can receive that, it's actually inspiring.
It is.
It's like, wow, Like
Right.
she so kindly said to me,
Yeah.
I have to take care of myself, or I got
Yes.
overextended last week. I'd love to be there. Please invite me again. Right. There's all these ways that we can still be in this non-guarded state and like protecting and caring for our vital life force.
Right.
Right. Because then we have so much more to give. And hopefully those people that we're setting boundaries with actually also honor that. Right. Hopefully, not always, but sometimes we surround ourselves with folks that go, wow, that's so beautiful.
It reminds me of the word, well, there's two words that I'm thinking of. The first one is agency.
Yeah.
Right? Like when I see someone standing in their queen, wise woman, priestess energy.
Yeah.
That I think about the word agency because she has the wherewithal to hear her own inner wisdom and do it in a way that doesn't come up to that line, that fence, right? Yeah. She's not watching over. I mean, that's how I used to be. I felt like when my husband was a rabbi and I was a rabbi's wife and I had these 4 kids. Yeah, I was a Rebbitzin and I had these 4 kids and they were babies. And I would just like stand at the fence.
Yeah.
Don't touch my babies. Don't look at my babies. And it was this like hypervigilance.
Yeah.
Right. And so now I think of the wise woman as I have agency to take care of myself when I need to. And I know how to listen to myself.
Yeah.
And the other word that I love in Kabbalah, as you know, is receiving.
Receiving.
Kabbalah means to receive.
Yeah.
And, you know, I would love to talk about the idea of how women can receive, right? If we're going to have good boundaries and we're going to have agency of ourselves, then how then do we receive that to be filled up even before we go out into the work field, out into our families? How do we receive?
Yeah. Yeah. Great question. And I want to add a third word that feels like it goes with receiving and agency, which is sovereignty.
Yeah.
Like really like being in your own seat, your own throne, knowing what's best for you, having the choice of agency, knowing what you want to let in.
That's a good word.
Because we can receive all kinds of things that we don't want.
Yeah.
And you know, when I work with receiving for myself and when I bring this to the world and I teach it, it always starts with nourishment. And there are so many types of nourishment, but I'm really referencing literally being in a nourished body with food and broth and rest. And that without that as a foundation, we actually don't really have access in this female body to any of those other things. Right. So when we're coming from not enough, then we're coming from not enough in all ways. Like if I don't have enough protein, if I don't have enough minerals, the only thing that can come from my body is not enough. Physiologically, biologically, there's no way around that. Yes. So the first lesson in receiving is always, can I move from deficiency to nourishment? Can I move from overdoing to rest? Can I move from sympathetic, activated nervous system to parasympathetic, rested nervous system? Can I change my body state first and foremost? Yeah. And then from that place, we often have a new way of relating to that feeling. And we can start to receive in other parts of life, maybe from our loved ones, maybe from our community, maybe acts of self-love that are in addition to those forms, like just, you know, if we were just getting rest and food as medicine, by the way, we'd be a healthier world. If all of the women had all those things, can you imagine this world if we were all nourished? Yeah. And it's also hard to have any form of sovereignty or any agency without coming from like anchored wholeness. Right. Like, how do I come in really clear with discernment and knowing sturdiness in the feminine, you know, not linear in the masculine, but like anchored. That's that queen energy sitting in my throne, knowing what feels true, knowing the difference between right and wrong, high and low. If I don't feel fullness in my body, if I'm ungrounded, the things that we can do as women in that queen state when we're in fullness, just from having enough food, enough rest it's miraculous. I mean, it changes everything.
It changes everything. Everything. It is, I think of nourishment just probably just like you, is like the bedrock. It's the literally it's like, it reminds me of like the the earth or the cement
Yeah.
that we grow everything else on. It's like a tree.
Yeah.
And I love, how you talk about nourishment, coming from this idea that it's so simple to be nourished. But it can be very complex and very hard if we don't put ourselves first.
Yeah.
So would you say that sovereignty and part of nourishment is then also putting ourselves first?
Yeah. Yes and no. There's a place that I'm sure you've heard me reference through the medicine woman lens of really being in full support of those that we care for and community. And that to do that, yes, we put ourselves first. So it's like holding the both and. It's still being one that nourishes others, which is the essence of the feminine and lots of types of nourishment. And staying in that center of the spectrum, because we can also move into an imbalanced place where we're just in self-focus.
Right. And only feeding ourselves.
Yeah. And I don't think we're meant to do that in this world in that way. And like you said, the bedrock is, can I bring my bright light, which is housed in this body? Like my soul and my soul's work is housed in this body. The energy and the chi that I have to bring to nourish others only comes from me being so full and so nourished, by me making sure that I'm taking care of every part of myself. So I do think it's a balance. And yes, I think that nourishing self first is the foundation.
Absolutely. Another thing that we've talked about before and we've done in our medicine path is the concept. I'm kind of like, I feel like queen is like up here, the word queen, and we're filling in like kind of like how to step into that queendom. And so joy, we nourish ourselves, and then it feels like joy is another part of that root. When I took your course, joy to me, and still is, but even more so, joy to me at least is the everyday inner magic, inner feeling of happiness is that outside fleeting feeling. And that joy is that same kind of like, it comes from within. It's the light within. Yeah. So I'm curious if you could talk about joy for a little bit. As a form of queendom.
Yeah. I think you're totally right. I think queendom, or, priestess energy, whatever word resonates, is a place that we approach. It's a place that we're approaching with practice and with nourishment and with joy, with gratitude, with pleasure, with a way that we experience this life, with a lens that we view even hardship or challenge through the lens that this is here for us. This is an opportunity within my own joy, within my own experience, to transform that challenge into medicine and then offer that medicine to others. That lens is often what I think of as joy or gratitude. And it's not to say, because people will hear me say all the time, I really do not believe in toxic positivity. I also very much believe in expressing what is true and not having stuck emotions. So if we're angry, great. That's also a part of queendom. 100%. Sometimes things are not okay, right? Like sometimes that's not okay. And we're living in a real deficiency of joy and a real deficiency of pleasure. We're really living in a place where often we don't feel good. Right? Even if we're eating well, to translate that from that foundation, that could be restrictive. That could be so much pressure. That could be this lens of right and wrong. It could be super masculine and everything on a timeline. Or it could be like, how good does it feel to fill myself up with this broth, with this tea, with enough protein, with soups and things that are really aligned with my body that I can actually absorb. Same food, totally different experience if it's like restrictive and linear versus joy and pleasure. And so that also, like you said, it's an approach to that place of fully being in a body that is, if we call queendom or priestess, like this overflow, this overflowing abundance that we have to offer,
Mm.
that we have to support, that we have to receive. Both.
Right.
Yeah.
So joy is not just the art of finding joy in everything that we do. It's also when we receive that joy, we flow it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's the same as nourishment, right? You receive it in a non-linear fashion because every day you bring yourself differently in this body.
Yes.
And then you shine it outward.
Yes.
And that's how we give from a place of like what I see as we're talking is like this beautiful kind of golden sun or this like ever, in Kabbalah or Judaism, we call it the Ein Sof, like the God within us that never runs out. It's like a wellspring that you were talking about, the spring.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So imagine if it was, it is in our bodies.
It is in our
bodies. And I love the idea of this queendom. And I love what you teach because it feels to me, it's very synergistic with this idea of it. We don't have to dry out.
Yeah. We don't have to dry out.
Right. Like,
even or when empty
you go
out.
Even when you go through menopause, like you don't have to dry out.
Yeah.
Like maybe we don't dry out. We're just living like too far in the masculine, working like men. Yeah. And there's nothing against men. We love them. But we've never been taught how to be a woman and fill ourselves up from that spring.
Right. Yeah.
And I just love that picture. When I think of your work, that's kind of what I think
That's
of.
the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I just had an imagery as you were describing that this lens through the Hebrew calendar where we start in Shvat. I mean, of course, we start way before, but the sap begins to move. We're pulling resources and nutrients up through our roots. We've wintered really well, which means we rested, we ate soup, we laid by the fire. Then we got in the bath and then we laid by the fire. Yeah. We filled in this darkness. And then our sap and in the female body is just blood and lymph. It starts to move. It's full of like sweetness and juiciness. And it's flowing and it's flowing. And as that really begins to move, we move into Adar, which is all about joy and queendom. Yeah. Like that, so the approach in nature is the moving of nourishment, that flow through the body. We definitely don't get to do that with a dry river. Right. There's no flow. Right? If we don't pull something up from the earth and we didn't have the water and the nutrients and we didn't root and winter, there is nothing to bring up as we like approach the crown, right? And then later move into Nisan and freedom. Right. Like, that's the place that's past. Like ultimate freedom comes from flow. Yeah. It comes from the sweetness of that sap moving, of our blood being like really full of goodness.
But I love what you said about that flow comes from wintering.
Yes.
Right?
Laying down.
Yes. Literally. Yeah. I've spent most of the winter in front of the fire.
Good job, you.
In a bath.
Yeah.
Broth.
Yeah.
Right. Nourishing. In fact, I have a mantra that my family laughs at. Because I walk around and I say, I am hydrated.
Yes, that's
right. And it's like my winter mantra. And like, it's a hydration thing, but it's also that I dig deep into the wellspring of who I am. Yeah. And that's where my hydration comes from. Yeah. And that changes everything, right? That to me is queendom.
That is
queendom. Stepping in.
Yeah.
But one thing I'm listening to a client in my head and I want to discuss this as we talk about, because I think a lot of women will hear this and they'll say, well, oh no, I'm not a queen. I'm not a wise woman. I have too much this and I have little of this. I have poor boundaries.
Or I don't have access to that.
Or I don't have access.
Yeah. Or I can't.
Right.
I hear that a lot too.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I'm finding as I'm kind of meditating on this idea of the queen priestess is that there's a good girl complex. And sometimes the queen, well, I'm supposed to ask you, does that mean the queen is a bitch?
Yeah. Oh, good question. Maybe part of her. Yeah.
Like how do we navigate the idea that like maybe part of her is a bitch?
Yeah. Yeah.
And also and like releasing this. There's nothing wrong with the good girl, as long as it's an embodied,
integrated.
Integrated. There's room for all parts of us. But I think for a lot of us, the good girl has stepped before the bitch.
Yeah.
And I really want to talk about how we can see the queen as also, because like when a woman steps into her power, she's often called a bitch.
Yeah.
And I'm still grappling with like, it's not being a bitch. It's actually just power, and it feels good.
Yeah.
But we have to know how to step into that. So I'd love to talk about that.
Yes. And I also think that we approach that as we approach certain ages, perimenopause and menopause, where the good girl actually serves us so much less. Yes. And she was probably serving us well for parts of our life. So I just hold that with gratitude. And the good girl doesn't have to go away. I really deeply believe that there is a place of clarity and direction, and that firm yes and no that we started with that could be translated to bitch, or in a well-balanced state could be translated to wise. And sometimes wisdom is a little harsh. I know that there have been times that I've received wisdom where I'm like, whew, it's a little harsh. And now as I am getting older, there are times, and I try to deliver it with love and open-heartedness, where it may feel harsh. And I think that's where we get that question of like, is the wise woman, is the queen a bitch? Yeah. What I think she is integrated and wise, and she knows when to say no. And sometimes that no is hard to hear, and she knows the medicine that she has learned in her life. And if you're willing to hear it, sometimes it might feel freaking harsh. Yeah. Like it might be one of those things that you go like, whew, that was hard to face. Right. And, in times before this, that was valued. It was like, sit down with the grandmother. Like it may be a little like gruff voice, but like what she has to say is so important. So true. And now we have translated that into, this modern lens of like, especially for women, but I think this actually happens to men too. Like a whole other conversation about masculinity, but like letting them be fierce, letting us be fierce in the feminine. Right. Not to put us into a conversation of a whole other topic, but I often think of women that are an 8 on the Enneagram, which is like considered the CEO, and they're really considered bitches. But what they are like fierce leaders that are not afraid of confrontation, and they are willing to stand up for what they believe in. Yes. And that is world changing. Like when we get women in power like that, a lot of times people are like, "Woo, that was a lot." It was. Yeah. It was a lot. And it was world changing. World-changing women are fierce. And if we don't step into that, we don't bring like our own world-changing self to the world. And we all have different ways. Right. Like we all have different ways of doing that. I think the much bigger loss would be not to bring the fierceness. Like, can we bring the fierceness in a way that's heard by as many people as possible? I hope so. Right. Right. We don't want people to shut down. Right. Yeah.
I like the idea. Again, I think it is under the umbrella of being a queen and maybe a bitch. Yeah. A lot of women teeter-totter, like you said, and we don't have to go into the Enneagram, but I know all about it as well. If you teeter-totter too much into your masculine or not enough into your feminine, you go, if you're out of balance in either one, which I know you teach as well, then are you really honoring the queen within? Yeah. Because too much masculine burns through you. Yeah. And the container is awesome and you're fierce. But I'm married to an Enneagram 8. And
my daughter's an Enneagram 8.
Oh, so is mine.
I love those 8 daughters. Yes. You got to do your own work as a parent.
Yes, you do.
It's important, good work in the world.
It is. What Enneagram number are you, by the way?
I'm a very equal 216.
Oh,
which probably makes sense.
That does.
What are you?
I'm a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love 4s.
Yeah.
Emmett's a 4.
Yeah.
I love a 4. You
nice.
Deep ones, you.
Yes.
You deep feelers.
Deep and emotional.
Yeah. Deep feelers.
But anyways, I digressed. that container of really holding our masculine and feminine, because I think a lot of the idea of the queen has been this idea of step into your feminine, step into your feminine. And for me, I drown, right? If I'm an Enneagram 4, I can really drown in my feminine.
You could just be so in your feeling self. So curious, right?
So curious.
Imbalanced feminine.
Flowers, and I realized like, I can get shit done.
Yeah, right.
So
balance.
That queendom is really about that balance. And I think that is where we're seen as bitchy, or why are you changing? Right. And I guess like, let's morph this into, how do we become that queen energy when the world around us, whether it's coworkers or families or husbands, partners, see us as this way because for 20 years you've been this way. And then and that shifts with our bodies and everything. But I'm curious what your thoughts are on like shifting the world around us so they meet us where we are now.
I think that's a great question. And I love to have examples from nature that remind us of like where we might find wholeness.
Yes.
And a lot of us have access to this place even before we move into perimenopause or menopause. And we see it in nature in a mama bear or a lioness.
Yeah.
And nobody would ever be like, oh, that mama bear is a bitch. You'd be like, good job. And I know for me, when I was younger, those were the places that I accessed unquestionably. Like, I don't care what you say.
Right.
I am going to protect my child.
100%.
And every time I stepped into that, I remember my kids being like, wow, Ema. Wow. And I could feel my most natural self. It's like my most instinctual self being both so in my feminine, because it was mother, and like growling. Right? I wasn't in the imbalanced feminine, not doing anything. I was like, I'm going to stand here until you solve this, because this has to do with my kid.
Yes.
And so we can translate that like where we get to have both.
Yes.
Because the imbalanced feminine or the damsel in distress or an excess 4 gets lost. Right? An excess masculine in a woman, we miss all of the nourishment, all of the joy, all of the pleasure. And then somewhere in that place where we both get to embody the feminine, like in that example, it's a very motherly feeling, but we don't have to be mothers to access it. And that growl, like that natural self that is all from instinct, that is the part that I always like want to go like, can I translate that into how I live my life? Because there's a fierce boundary in there. There's fierce love in there. There's so much feminine energy. There's, it's embodying that spectrum of fullness that I want to always live. Of course, I don't want to always be like growling or mad on behalf of my kids, but like to be embodying that place. And in the queen energy, I think if this was my queendom and like my people were at risk, I'm going to be pissed.
Right.
I'm going to fight hard for that from a protection, like a nourishing, like loving version, which is different than, me putting on armor and other things. It like really comes from love and care.
That's beautiful. I do think, just because you and I are mothers and we have that, I have that same like, don't you dare.
Yeah, don't you dare.
Don't you dare. I think it's important then as we age, as our kids get older and they don't need as much of that, is to really, it's the queen is now shifting roles, right? So we're not linear. And I think a lot of us try to be linear because we are protecting some of those wounds and those traumas. And this is the way we did things. And I think the queen energy is very like a river, right? And so we have to bring some of that jaguar. I keep thinking of a cougar or jaguar. I see a jaguar like,
my spirit animal is a tiger.
My
Her name is
family.
Lila. Yeah. Right. Like my fierceness.
Yeah.
Lila.
Like bringing that fierceness. I mean, I remember we lived in Israel. We had made Aliyah. We were intending on living there forever. And I had 4 different instances, but one was my daughter was probably like 7 and she was hiding out in the bathroom every single solitary day because the teacher wouldn't take this little American girl and like put her under her wing. So the mama bear went to school every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. Good job,
Every
mama.
single day.
Yeah.
Right. And now, the little girl's graduating from from high school, and she doesn't need her mama in that way. But it is kind of remembering those times in our lives and then like nourishing ourselves with that fierceness of, okay, what does that look like in my body instead of protecting? Yeah, maybe it's protecting our people, but it's also this embodying that energy, right? And maybe that isn't the bitch.
Right.
Maybe it's just like
the lioness.
Yes. I feel like that's that. I mean, having all these aha moments as we speak.
Yeah.
Like maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
And that's really powerful.
It is. And like truly the lioness will rip you up sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Right. So we could call that bitch, or we could call that like, of course you will, because like that's what your body knows, your truly instinctual self knows at that time is the only way. And what if instead of judging that, again, we would never judge it in nature. Right. It's a given.
True.
It's a given. True. And we are also natural beings. Like we know the way forward, even though we've been trained into that nice, good girl. Yeah. Right. To like never have a growl. Right. Never show up that way. Right. Right.
I think it's really important as we do age to honor the good girl and where she got us to this point, and then bring her with us.
Bring her with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, for our young ones that always have that growl, I think I wish that I had been given that like big, open arm, open hearted, response to my growl. Yeah. And that is something I want to offer. Like when these girls come into the world in their natural fierceness, with a clear no. Right. Great. It's a no. And of course they need guidance. Right. And of course they need our offering of wisdom. And it's okay for their own inner knowing to be loud and fierce. True. And in balance, like anything else. And in balance. We don't have to burn the house down. We don't have to tear the community down. Right. But it's okay to have like a big, strong no.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. We could learn from them.
I mean, I think we do.
We do.
Right? I'm sure you learn from your daughter, from both your kids.
I always say, there's no way that I could have ever taught Medicine Woman without Lainey teaching me. Yes. In fierceness. And I had to step into my power to meet her in her fullness. And then I was like, oh, there I am. Right. This is part of me. Right. This is an important part of me.
It's amazing to, when sometimes people think of the queen as someone who sits on her throne and is untouched. Yeah. And what you just said with your daughter teaching you how to step into your queen is someone who recognizes the fluidity of life. And it's not that you're just sitting on your throne. Right. It's that you're coming down. I mean, I think that's really what we're doing, both of us in our work too, is this idea of queendom as a circle. Yeah. Right. As ritual, as land, as earth, as this cyclical, circular kind of energy, instead of I sit here, you sit here.
Right. Yes.
It's totally a different way of, I think it's the ancient way.
I think it's the ancient
and I think we're returning to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me what plants you offer and suggest to people that are working, maybe this is too vague, but that are kind of intrigued by stepping into their wise woman queen energy.
So many, but I'll start with specifically queen, and you know this because we've done this work together. My favorite plants, and often together for the queen, are Tulsi and Rose. So both very much remedies. Rose teaches us about joy, pleasure. She opens the heart. She opens the womb space, and she has fierce boundaries. And yet she's no less alluring. She's so stunning. Yes. Nobody's like, oh, that rose has thorns. Right. They're like, oh, that rose is so beautiful. Yeah. And of course she has thorns. Like if you want the rose, here are the thorns, right? There's the bitch. Right. Nature reminds us. Yes. If you want the rose, there are thorns. Yes. So working with Rose is always so opening to that part of us, because just, and when we think of a plant that has gone all over the world and has become the reflection of love, where we think about like, oh, you give somebody roses, or for me and, me in ceremony, it's like there's roses everywhere.
Yeah.
Because I want to have an experience of like pleasure, smell, see, taste. Roses just like the smell, see, taste. So
divine.
Good. So good.
Yeah.
And then you add the thorns, and then Tulsi, or holy basil, also known as the queen of herbs. She gives us this feeling of abundant expansion. And so much of expanding into queen is an expanded nervous system. So we don't really get to arrive there. And I actually think we're working on our queen self our whole lives. Whenever we're in this body, I hope to the very end that I am working with the medicine that comes towards me to become more who I'm really meant to be.
Right.
And Tulsi reminds us, in addition to all the amazing things that she does just to like soothe the gut and soothe the nervous system, that we have more capacity than we think.
Yes.
And that's not the same as overextending ourselves. It's like the true inner capacity that we come in with from the divine. She reminds us of that. Yeah. And we have to separate that from like, how much chi do I have in my body right now? If that's low, don't overextend your chi. But remember that on the inside, you come in with a purpose and your soul is full and divine. And all we have to do is bridge that in this human way on a cellular level with like more breath and more rest and more women, right? Tulsi reminds us of that.
Amazing.
Yeah. And there's so many other herbs, but those are my two favorite that like, honestly, if you use them together and get to know them together, I've had so many people be like, wow, oh my goodness.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Not safe for pregnancy. Just
good.
for anybody that's listening in your pregnant queendom.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And I love how, I've learned from you obviously, and I love how your take on plants is so much more than this is the plant for this.
Yeah.
Right. There's an emotional quality. There's a spiritual quality. There is a physical component. Yeah. It's all energetic. It's like working in unison with the queen within on all levels, and plants just like come in and they offer that nourishment, that teaching, right? Like the thorns of a rose.
Yeah.
Just to kind of like sum up, what is your favorite go-to for stepping into your queen and your nourishment and your joy? Or maybe what are you doing now that like fills you up?
So I think my answer is simultaneous, both really, really, really being in my quiet and my rest, in my winter and my introspection.
Yeah.
And also it really fills me up to bring it to the world. And I can only do both by doing both.
So true.
Right? So it's like, I love to be in groups of women. I love to teach these things. I love to like see transformation. I love when that like gets worked into other people's lives and their children's lives and their clients' lives. And also to do that, I have to like lay in the bath with like salt and roses, and then put on my infrared mat and meditate and drink cacao. So it's a real balance for me, because the more I do that nervous system expansion, I become pretty high capacity to bring the other thing forth. It's like, I have the actual, energetic cellular chi.
That's amazing.
To bring that into flow.
Amazing. That's so beautiful. I think, you talk a lot about what season are you in?
Yeah.
And I love the idea that you just said, like, you have to rest in order to give out. Yeah. And that's the way I see the queen, is that she's always, maybe she's just kind of pulling from different seasons, right? In order to go out into her summer, which is like, boom, let's go. Yeah. She has to dive into the bath. Yeah. And winter a little bit, or hibernate a little bit.
Be there for a while.
Yeah. 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 And then we have seasons of queendom where we're abundant in all ways, but we are in hibernation. Yeah. Or maybe we're just out there. Yes. And I just want to thank you, because you've taught me so much about honoring the seasons of a queen. Right. And that it looks different for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's so, I keep seeing this like version of like a rose blossoming.
Yeah.
And that's to me what the queen is like this blossoming. And so you've explained it in such great detail here. And I just can't wait to learn more from you and be together and have more conversations about this. But I really want to thank you for being on our podcast today.
Thanks for having me join.
You're welcome. Was really lovely. It was very joyful.
Very joyful. Love bringing this medicine to the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.